Hey everybody, welcome back to Star Wars Minute. It's the daily podcast where we analyze, scrutinize, and celebrate the Star Wars movies 1 minute at a time. I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
I'm Alex Robinson from AlexRobinson.fun.
And I'm Hal Lublin from Website Redacted.
Oh,
That
place. All the
Sorry,
good
dot place.
yeah.
GeoCities.
All the good stuff is happening over there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks for coming back, Hal. We were just talking in the green room that I think you said it's been Attack of the Clones since you've been here. So that's...
I think that was the last time. I think so. I don't remember. I know I've done 2 weeks and I can't remember. Who remembers? I always have just such a good time talking. It's all one movie to me. It's just one long journey.
Floating in and out of Star Wars.
I'm glad we had you back for two of the least controversial of the films, The Attack of the Clones and The Last Jedi.
Is Attack of the Clones actually controversial? Is it controversial that people like it?
No, I guess it's more just that it's generally unpopular. It generally shows up in the bottom half of people's rankings, but there are people who like it. Can't deny them that.
I just looked it up on the Star Wars Minute Wiki.
Yes.
Which if you haven't visited, anybody, if they're looking for information like this, if you haven't been to the Star Wars Minute Wiki, it's fantastic. Wiki.StarWarsMinute.com. I can say that because I had very little to do with it other than just setting it up and hosting it. And Kai and the other guys doing that have done an amazing job of keeping up with it. And it's vast and comprehensive. And on the Wiki, it says you did a week of Attack of the Clones, and then we just did one episode of The Force Awakens, 1 minute. And
All-Star.
We did.
And then we did a weekend show, I guess, at some point, maybe around the same time.
Oh, that's right. That was the last time, because the first time we did the week in the hotel,
right.
which I think COVID swallowed whole. And then the next time you were in town and you had created like a podcast bunker while you were here, and I came and we did an episode in a weekend. That's right.
Yeah, we upgraded. Gradually, we upgraded. We did a hotel, then we did an Airbnb, and then I just moved here to... I was like, now
you're running for mayor for the next time I'm here, I expect.
Mayor of podcasting.
Yeah.
Well, the chunk that we're going to talk about today, the episodes that will be added to the Star Wars Minute Wiki, begin with minute 86 of Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Minute 86 starts with DJ saying he wants to keep helping, and it ends with DJ revealing that their ship was once owned by an arms dealer. An arms dealer. And so here, I like a lot of, this is my problem that I've had with DJ, is that I'm not trying to say that I don't like the fact that he stutters. You know, I think it's an interesting character trait to have, you know, and it fits kind of as we've discussed, you know, it kind of fits with that, you know, like a code breaker that is, you know, his brain is bursting essentially with so much information, and that it's, you know, his mouth can't keep up with his brain. I know how that goes. But just the way that he plays it is too cartoony and weird for me. And so whenever he's talking, like, I like Benicio del Toro and I like the stuff, I like DJ's dialogue, and I like the character, but then every once in a while, just like between the affectation and then a couple of other things where he's like mugging for the camera almost, it seems like it's too much in that direction. And so like here when he's talking, you know, like he yesterday's the last minute that we did, you know, was that the one where he said we had to have a pre-do-it conversation? And I like that.
Yeah.
Like, I like this little bits of dialogue. He's like, hey, you know, like, I'm going to need something. And he's like, that's something. You know, guys, like, no something, no doing. Like, he's all these little, like, awesome little nuggets of, like, it's almost like, you know, like hard-boiled, like, film noir kind of dialogue that he gets. But then he just mucks it up with being goofy about it.
Benicio del Toro is one of those guys who takes big swings. Whatever you put him in, whatever role he's playing, he takes big swings. And sometimes those huge choices work out, like they do in The Usual Suspects, where he's like, right, I'm going to be completely marble-mouthed. But you love it, and it works. This one feels more like he's showing off how good he is at making choices.
Hmm.
And it like there's no reason why the character can't stutter. There's no absolutely why wouldn't there be stuttering in the Star Wars universe? That makes total sense. It is, but I agree with you. There is a presentational, almost like a peacocking way in which he works it in, but then it gets balanced out because even in this minute, there are these like little subtle moments where he's understated. So it's like a complete character is created. He's such a good actor that it keeps you can't, it keeps you off kilter, which maybe it was the whole point of what he was doing and what he does every time he's on screen.
Could be. Maybe. As he'll say.
I don't know. Am I digging too deep?
No. You are kind of, addressing what I'm trying to put a pin on for the last week or two. I'm like, sometimes he's good, but you nailed it. That's exactly it. That he's like, it's oddly, it's like frustrating in that it's both good and bad at the same time, which is, as some people might say, that's their frustration with this movie in general, is that it's got some of their high highs and some of their low lows and
high highs. I get around it by telling myself that this is DJ acting this way. Like DJ doesn't even really have a stutter, but he's just doing this as the thing to keep people off off their guard. Keep people off their they don't know what to expect. So and then I assume he has some kind of, obviously he's a criminal. So it helps if people are like, oh yeah, he had a really bad stutter, I remember. And then he just kind of, hello, my name is DJ. He can kind of just act like he doesn't have a stutter. So, yeah. Anyway.
He's kind of an embodiment, like this whole movie, and I love The Last Jedi. I absolutely love it. It vacillates between number 2 and number 3 for me out of all of them. And part of what I like about it is the extent to which it subverts your expectations. Not only of like, here's the standard film trope you would expect in any normal Star Wars movie for him to be a good guy, because he's there. Essentially, if this is supposed to be The Empire Strikes Back, then is he the guy who's supposed to be the Lando Calrissian, where you don't like him? He's got like a charming aspect to him, but then you think he's a bad guy, but then he turns out to be a good guy. As opposed to he's like just a walking moral, and turns out to be who he's only in it for himself. So who he presents as is kind of who he is throughout the movie, which you don't expect. He's the embodiment of that idea.
We're used to thinking of him. We'd be thinking of him as someone who's at the beginning of an arc. Like, okay, I know he's going to turn around and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to change my name. So you can just call me Jay from now on, because I'm joining.
Yeah, exactly. But he's just a lesson for all these characters. He's part of Finn's arc and Rose's arc more than anything else.
Right.
Yeah, I had some more about that tomorrow, but I'll stay here for
here was
his speech.
Speaking of Rose's arc, we do get we like to point out when characters quote or paraphrase lines from other Star Wars movies. And here we get Rose Tico quoting Emperor Palpatine or Darth Sidious when she just throws him the necklace and says, "Do it."
Well, he did have the pre-do it conversation.
So pre-do it conversation, right?
So I guess he kind of knew what was coming. So
cut the head off of that code.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's interesting that he wants the medallion, even though the ship is filled with coins and knickknacks, and plus it's a ship. Like, how much is that? Is it excessively worth something, or is this just a power move on his part, where he just wants to like kind of show that he's in control of everything?
You'll see, it's partially a power move, and partially, if you recall, it will come into play.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Yeah, I won't be here when it pays off, but there is and that might be one of the things that, again, you would expect. Oh, he's a good guy all along, but he also seems like the kind of guy who never wants to be in anybody else's debt, and also doesn't want anybody in his debt. He's transactional. So here's the trend. You want me to do this? You give me that.
Right. And
then he discovers I don't think he knows necessarily that there's going to be money in there. I'm sure he figures there might be. I mean, he
in
boosted,
the cabinets.
he boosted the ship with BB-8's help, who's now full
An
on.
accomplice,
He's now accessory to a crime.
Yeah, BB-8 seems to become the most influenced by DJ's amorality. So now BB-8, he steals this ship, he steals the ATST later on. It's
going to see. He's already got a lighter. He'll be smoking soon, and
Yeah, the first time he rolled out of that CVS, he didn't realize the gum was stored inside of him, and then he felt freer than he'd ever felt in his life, and that was really the start. You just don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
They need to remake that PSA. Instead of R2-D2 smoking, it will be BB-8.
Right.
BB-8 stealing.
I say it stands for Bad Boy 8. That's what well, going back to the Hazian smelt for a second. I wanted to turn that into a question for the panel. You guys are the
Hazian
panel.
smelt?
Yeah. Hazian smelt. I can't think of what would be like. I can't think of anything that has a similar meaning to me as Rose seems to have to this. I don't have a sister who died, like defending the rebellion or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was trying to think of like, what are my sentimental artifacts? What are my things that I'm emotionally attached to? And would I trade them for the opportunity to take down evil, to fight evil? And I didn't come up with anything, so I'm turning it into a question for you guys.
Is basically the question whether or not we're jewelry people? Because it feels like whatever it is, you have to have it. You can't be like, oh, I'm going to go home and get the beanbag turtle I had when I was a kid. That meant a lot to me.
Right.
I will give it over.
If somebody did somehow, like if let's say, there was like a freedom fighter at your house and was just like, well, what's that? Like give me that, we have to pre-do it conversation, give me, that's something, give me that. Like, would you trade some of your most emotional, the things that you have the most emotional attachment to, would you trade them for the opportunity to do good in the universe?
I think I would.
Yeah.
I think just because I guess I'm getting old enough now, and I know like where objects are just kind of like things, and
yeah, that's true.
It doesn't really matter. None of it really matters. So in a way, I'm like, sure, I'm trying to lose my attachment still to my physical object. So if anything, that should be a real test to see if is it worth to save lives. Well, especially the fact that her sister died, I could see that almost being like, well, if her sister was willing to give up her life for this, I should certainly give up my my Japor snippet. So
right,
How far along am I in Marie Kondo's The Magical Art of Tidying? Because if I'm far enough into it, I'll say thank you to the object. Yeah, I think I would too. I think, some of that comes with age too. We're all mature enough as humans to say, all right, there are things we may like to amass things, but ultimately our attachments are elsewhere. And this is the more important thing. So yes, I will give it up. I do wonder if there's an item that somebody could take that would, just to sort of turn the question on its ear, is there an item someone could take that would even for a second make you go, wait, hold on, are you sure you're going to be successful? Because I'm trying to scan, like what could somebody take that would upset me, rather than because I just didn't have an item ready to go. So that's what I start scanning. It's like, is there anything?
Yeah, that's the problem. Is that it's fairly hypothetical, because I'm like, oh yeah, they could take whatever, and then as I'm looking around me, I'm like up in the attic where like nothing, like it might as well be gone anyway. It's like, oh yeah, that old record player, I would totally trade that in for safety in the galaxy. But
well, Palpatine really his bargaining is really decreased. I'll give you this record player. All right, I'll do it.
Yeah. Does he have
what
any
about some old
albums to
shirts?
go with it?
Old shirts?
Yeah. I need a bag of collar stays.
Yeah. So we learned that DJ and BB-8 stole the ship. And Finn seems very nonplussed by this.
And theoretically, that means that DJ can speak BB-8.
Yes.
Right? Because he says...
He's a code breaker.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, that's true.
That makes total sense.
Sure.
Language is just a code, man.
Yeah. But Finn is at least like, well, you stole it from the bad guys at least.
Right.
And but we learn that good guys, bad guys, they're all made up words.
And it's Hal, maybe you'll appreciate this, but I again, it's the over the topness of it, and I understand that it's not coming from the same place because, he's not kind of masquerading as a different nationality, but the way he says like good guy, bad guy makes me think of Razor Ramon, and it totally like he's putting on this like kind of like this cool guy attitude and being like good guys, bad guys. And it's like,
hey yo,
yeah.
when he pulls the toothpick out from behind his ear and flicks it.
Yeah. Well, he should, totally. He'd take the wasn't he using a card to pick his teeth or something in a couple episodes ago? There you go.
That's
he
right.
Should totally.
Yeah, he is the Razor Ramon of Star Wars. That's canon. I do. That is one of the other things I love about this movie is the exploration of the gray area, which you don't really get. There are always gray area characters. You have like smugglers and bounty hunters who are more about money than they are allegiance to any cause. But you also get an idea of perspective here. Like it's possible for someone to not be entirely good or not be entirely bad, and that it is all perspective. And like all the Canto Bight stuff, which some people hate. I don't mind it as much. I just rewatched the movie just to be sort of brushed up on it, and I seem to remember flinching a little bit more at Canto Bight than I did watching it this time. Like I settled into it more.
Yeah, the movie points a lot to a lot of that kind of questioning morality and it's weird that on the one hand it's this storyline is saying it's all shades of gray and stuff, and then meanwhile in the Holdo storyline it's like do whatever you're told, don't question what listen to your superiors. Like it's a kind of conflict, but I guess that's the balance of the message.
Yeah, I mean it's partially again we'll get into that because we have some of that a good chunk of that coming up.
Yeah.
But, it's not. I even that is not as clean cut. So it is. Yeah, as we, famously the original Star Wars is very, literally black and white as we've said, and it's here's your good guys, here's your bad guys. They fight, the good guys win, hooray! And then each iteration kind of veers a little bit. Well, depending on, it opens that up a little bit, and everybody's not so clearly seated in one side or the other. And then obviously the having a whole story arc, having the prequels be all about like, hey, remember that super bad guy who was just clearly so much the bad guy from the first movie? Yeah, here's why you're gonna like him a little bit, and he's the hero, kind of, and it makes it like, wait, how am I supposed to feel about this? And it continues into this, as we know.
Yeah.
Was anybody really kind of morally ambiguous in The Force Awakens?
Uncle Pluck.
He was just kind of mean, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he sold out Rey immediately. Like he falls into that like maybe Jabba the Hutt kind of, not quite Jabba the Hutt, but somebody who would be like, I work with Jabba the Hutt, like that kind of guy.
Yeah, more pragmatic than evil.
Right. Yeah, he's cruel. He's uncaring.
Yeah,
he's money. He's pure money. That guy. He's like
So speaking of money, the DJ goes to make his point by saying, "Well, let's see whose ship let's see whose ship the Libertine belonged to before he stole it." Mm-hmm. And he turns on the little hollow projector thing, and lo and behold, the arms dealer, the information comes right up there. We see the ships that he's selling and stuff like that. And so did DJ know this ahead of? Did he? When him and BB-8 stole the ship, did he know it was an arms dealer ship, or was it just like luck that
it's an arms dealership? Oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah,
he took it straight to the dealership.
Come on down. We're offering free service on all Corellian cruisers.
You want X-wings? You want Y-wings? You want TIE fighters? We got them all. Yeah, no, I don't think he knew or necessarily cared. Although chances are, as they said in Canto Bight, that there's only one thing in the galaxy that gets you that rich. So all those people probably had any ship he stole from there, probably could have looked into it and been like, oh, well, here's why this person's bad,
So it's kind of like continues the Star Wars tradition of everyone from a single planet. Like everyone at the casino is an arms dealer of some kind or another. Like it's a planet of arms dealers.
Well, but it's not like they weren't all born there and grew up there, and they don't have like a rich tradition of arms dealership in their race.
Yeah.
Welcome to the arm dealing planet. We are all constantly in competition with one another.
Right. Weirdly, we just sell arms to each other.
Yeah, you can get some great deals on ATSTs if you go there because there's just so many options. Somebody's willing to undercut somebody else. But I think DJ he's operating out of confidence that he knows how the world works, and he's both right and wrong. So for him and his experience, there are no good guys or bad guys because that's the life he's led. But it doesn't mean the movie is also about hope and what it means to have hope and where to find it. Mm-hmm. So again, like you have Finn being torn in a bunch of different directions, both by Rose and DJ, and how he feels about Canto Bight initially and later on. So it's all, this is all part of the soup, that Finn soup, that delicious Finn soup. It's simmering right now.
So how would DJ have reacted if he turned it on and there was like the blueprints for a children's hospital? This was this was the guy who was running a huge charity and stuff. Would he just be like, oh, well, I'm sure he did something else that was bad too.
Right. Then he would have flipped it over to a children's slaughterhouse. That would have been the other side of it.
Right. Oh, yeah.
But they would have been adjacent, like the back of one would have met up with the other one. They would have been like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's not right.
What do you think gives all those kids those diseases?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a hospital, but also a rancor feeding station. Look.
What do you think is in the burgers?
So yeah, we do get a little glimpse of the ATST and a TIE fighter in the
right. In holographic form.
Yeah. It's so funny to me how they're so reluctant to use classic aliens, but like with ships, they go right. I personally would have done 3 different ships. Maybe you throw in a different one there in the middle, so it's not just like, oh, here's 2 things we're familiar with from movies that were 30 years ago or something.
And that would have been a perfect thing to throw in something from like the video games or like, it's like, oh, it's a Z95 headhunter, something like that. Where you're like, oh, like I get that. Where it's like, you get the basic idea. Wouldn't have been too fan servicey, but it would have been
what if they'd put in like the Firefly or the Serenity? What if they put like Serenity in there or like the Enterprise or something as an Easter egg, a little Easter egg?
The Nostromo is on there.
Yeah. Come on. You would have liked it. You would have
I would have loved it.
Yeah. So he would have liked it.
It would have been a good chance to work in the troop carrier that they finally got into the Mandalorian.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If you turned it on and it was all like mini rigs and stuff like that, it was like, no, wait, it's in here somewhere. It's going through.
I like how they're sort of implying Kenner is the ultimate evil in the universe.
And
maybe this guy was maybe he was a toy dealer. Maybe these were just toys that they was looking at on the screen.
Oh.
If you press the button in the back, the legs move. Look at that. You can fit one Chewbacca in there.
Yeah. That's all I got for minute number 86. You guys got anything else?
That's pretty much it. I have no idea what I wouldn't, if there was anything I wouldn't trade, which is good news. I've been trying to think of it in the background. It's like, is there anything that's super valuable to me?
Did you find anything?
No. Well, blue snaggletooth. That's.
Yeah. Hold on to that.
Yeah. But yeah, if that's it, Hal, can you come back tomorrow and do this again?
Yeah, I can, and I will, and I want to.
All right. Well, we do have more to talk about it. This conversation kind of continues in, and we get more. We get 2 scenes to talk about. So, hope everybody's excited about that. If you, listener, viewer, we mentioned the wiki at the top of the show, and then if you want to, if you read up on something in there, you want to, you look ahead, you want to be maybe involved in the show, why not call our hotline 8-Day Greedo? And you can leave a brief message, preferably humorous, preferably brief, as we said. And there's a chance we'll put it in at the beginning of the show, and you'll be a part of the season. How about that? And then we'll be back here tomorrow for a brand new episode of Star Wars Minute.
Star Wars Minute.
Star Wars Minute.